Cards and Comic Show.
Welcome back to Cards and Comics. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is the 1990s baseball card inserts and parallels. I'm going to be discussing the top 10 or the highest 10 sales on eBay for January 2023. We'll get right into it. So, before I start, I want to talk about the ground rules for how I compiled this list. First of all, I only looked at buy it nows and auction sales. Best offers weren't considered. I think these sales do look legit. A lot of them were buy it nows or auctions. So, yeah, it's hard to say if anything was shilled or not paid for, but this is my best guess at that these were legitimate sales. And I wanted to kind of preface that. So if you go out there and you say, oh, there's a best offer that looks like it was $8,000 is on your list. Well, I don't know if that's a real sale. I don't know what the final price was. So to me, I'm going to stick with buy it nows and auction results. So I'm going to start here with two honorable mentions on baseball cards. And another side note, just for people who are interested, I am going to do the same thing for football cards. So 1990s football card inserts and parallels will be a separate video. So back to baseball. So I'm going to start with two honorable mentions. So this is one that I just thought was really cool. This sold for $3,500, and it would have been the number 12 overall sale in January. It was a complete set of Score franchise auto cards. So it's 4 cards in the set, and it included the triple auto, right? The triple auto, which has Yastrzemski, Mantle, and Musial on it, which can't ever be done again. They're all signed in gold pen. And if you get a good auto, which this one graded a PSA 9 auto, to me the PSA 6 grade doesn't matter. This card has sold in the past over $3,500. So right there, the person got almost the entire value in this lot by just buying the triple. But he got another Mantle auto, a Musial auto that's graded, and the Yastrzemski auto that's raw by itself. Now, you could say the Mantle card has been faked. I agree with that. And the Musial and the Yastrzemski aren't enormous cards, but they're worth something. And to me, if the Mantle is legit, and again, it sold for over $1,000 if it grades anything really, this guy's, I think, in the money big time. I think this is closer to a $5,000 lot, in my opinion, due to just how rare that triple auto is, and it's a pretty good grade for that auto. Now, I could be way overvaluing it, but I think this was a steal. There's also a bonus Ted Williams auto that was just an on-card hologram, upper deck hologram auto that wasn't graded. So you could, you're going to get that. So if you get it authenticated, maybe that's even a huge, bonus for you to get a Ted Williams auto in the same deal. I don't know, but 2 Mantle autos, a really cool triple auto for $3,500. I think if you're going to be in this kind of space spending money, you could do a lot worse than buying this lot. I think this is a pretty cool lot. Next up is the fact that this card didn't make the top 10 is showing just how strong the sales are in 90s baseball inserts and parallels. So this is the 1999 Fleur Mystique Established Ken Griffey Jr. This sold for $3,772 on January 7th. Again, numbered 45 out of 100. And the thing to remember here is that right now in the 90s insert world, anything numbered 100 or less that is from a popular set and a popular player is going nuts, going insane. Jeter, Tony Gwynn, Maddox, it doesn't matter. If it's a low pop count or a low number card and it's from it's a essential credential, a PMG, whatever set it's coming from that's popular, they are moving and bringing some big numbers, and we'll go through it in this in this video, but it's just interesting to see just how crazy the market is right now, in my opinion, for some of these cards. Now, this is a PSA 9. It's a pop 10, only 4 higher. There's only 15 of these on this pop count for PSA. If anyone has ever seen these cards up live and in person, they are super shiny. They're very beautiful. They have a rainbow foil effect on front and back. Remember that, guys, front and back, which we don't do anymore. This definitely is one of the nicer looking sets ever made. To me, it's turning into holy grail cards for a lot of player collectors. And again, this card, similar card that was graded a PSA 10, sold 2 days later, and it's going to be further up on this list. But it will show just how strong this set is when it's in high grade of a popular player like Ken Griffey Jr. Now, moving on to number 10. This one was a surprising one to me. It was the Upper Deck 1991 Heroes Nolan Ryan autograph in a Gem Mint 10. So the card graded a 10. The auto is just authentic, so that's good. The auto isn't forged, according to PSA. Sold on January 8th for $3,850. It edged out that Ken Griffey Jr. card we just saw, the established. So it's numbered at 2,500, so that seems high. Most people would say today, in today's market, 2,500 isn't a low number. It's a number that seems like a lot of availability. However, you got to remember, according to Baseball Cardpedia, that Upper Deck printed over 3 million cards per player in the 91 Upper Deck set. So think about how many wax boxes, 3 million players. There's like, I think, over 700 cards in the set. So you're talking like 700 times 3 billions of cards. I mean, it's insane how many cards they printed in 91. So think about this being inserted in all those boxes of, I think this all came out in the Series 1. But it doesn't matter because they printed that to the moon. So finding this card was super difficult. It was always expensive. And the fact that it graded a 10, I think, really brought out the wolves of the Nolan Ryan collectors, because they're very competitive. And they bring a lot of money to the table for the hard-to-find items and the high-grade items. And again, a PSA 8 OC refractor from 93 just brought $2,500 on January 15th. That card would grade, in the registry as a 6. So for, I think, kind of a low-grade card, it brought a lot of money. So the Ryan collectors are very, very strong. So if you have some rare Nolan Ryan cards, get him graded and get him on eBay. You might surprise yourself with what they will bring. Next up at number 9, Essential Credentials 1998, Tony Gwynn Essential Credentials Future. This brought $3,927 at auction, numbered 59 of 88. This, sorry, I've got the wrong numbers here, but this is, again, one of those sets I talked about earlier where the Essential Credential cards are red hot. They are selling like hotcakes. Buy it nows are being hit. This set is really interesting because PMGs are static numbering, meaning that every one of them is numbered out of a certain amount. The variable numbering in this set makes it much harder to put together. Some cards can be very low numbered. Some cards can be very high numbered, comparatively. So this card's numbered out of 88, but I think on this list there's like an Andrew Jones card that was numbered out of 11 that was on the top 20 list, not the top 10. So again, this set is hard to put together. There's variable numbering between cards in this set. And again, that all makes it harder. And this was a PSA 10. This set, I don't think is too tough of a grade, but I do know that pink area can get chipping. And so, to me, this is a great example of, a player that I think is still popular, but it's just the fact that a high grade Essential Credentials of almost any player right now is bringing a lot of money because people are actually trying to put these sets together, or they're player collecting hard and don't want to get left out and are hitting buy it nows left and right on these kind of cards. Number 8 is referred to PMG. So this is the 98 Metal Universe Chipper Jones Precious Metal Gem. This was hit on a buy it now for almost $4,000. And you can see it's numbered 7 out of 50, sold on January 30th, so almost the last day of the month. It's got a PSA pop count of 2 with no higher. So there's only one other 9, so this is a really rare card. And again, the PMG market is on fire. All kinds of buy it nows from all different sports are being hit left and right. You've got a few whales in this market pitting these sets together, or player collecting heavy. And these are cards they are targeting heavy to get into their collection or get into their set before they dry up, because they know there's not many out there. There's only 6 on the pop count. So if they're looking for a graded card, a graded version of this card, you have very few choices. So if someone hit the buy now at $4,000 for this Chipper Jones PSA 9 Precious Metal Gems from 1998. All right, moving on to number 7. And again, another Precious Metal Gems. Now this one is graded by BGS. Now it's, Tony Gwynn. We just saw Chipper Jones. This one outsold it by $50, which is interesting because, again, normally PSA cards are outselling BGS. But this shows that Tony Gwynn is still popular. This is the second appearance of Tony Gwynn on this list. And the market for PMGs is fire. The people are, again, building sets. I really think there are some strong whale set builders. I've been talking to some folks in the hobby. They know a few folks out there trying to complete sets. So this did go to auction, unlike the Chipper Jones card, which was a buy now. However, this one did bring more money than that card. So maybe that person that sold the Chipper Jones wishes he had sold it on auction. But again, strong sale of a player who's, I think you would say, is great player, but normally these prices are reserved for things like Griffey Jr. cards or Derek Jeter. So it's great to see a Tony Gwynn card bring this kind of money. Number 6, Barry Bonds. And this is a very interesting card. This is the Skybox Heavy Metal Fusion Titanium Barry Bonds. And it brought $4,750 at auction on January 8th. It is number 21 of 50. Like all those other PMGs, which is, that we'll talk about, majority of them are numbered out of 50. Now, this card is ungraded, and it looks like it's got some pretty severe corner damage. That is, I think, why it's still not graded. I think people just, know it's going to grade maybe a 6. So they just said, well, I'll keep it raw. Again, it has a very similar design to Platinum Portraits, which people in basketball and recently in Marvel cards know, what those sets look like, with that almost like dot matrix looking laser impression of the image for Barry Bonds. So to me, this card has a lot going for it, and it's numbered to 50. The thing that surprised me about this set that I didn't really realize until I really looked at it was these are all parallels of the actual base set. So the fusion cards that this is, this is a titanium fusion, and there is a sterling fusion which is numbered out of 500, but it's basically just a parallel of the base set. I always thought these were inserts, but they're not. They're actually parallels of the base set. So it's very cool. Pretty rare card. They're basically treating this like a PMG type card with the numbering, but it's definitely got its own unique flavor, and a lot of people love these cards, and these are really, really rare. Moving on to number 5. Now, some people may argue that this is not a 90s parallel or insert, and I agree with you. It's a very important card for the 90s, which is why I did include some of those honorable mentions. So if you don't agree with me, you can say, well, I still had at least 10 cards on the whole thing. So I didn't lie to you guys. Now, this card brought $4,850. Now, it's the card on the left. The card on the right, as you're facing your screen, is a PSA graded card. So this card came from a zero feedback seller, and it's ungraded. So that should have set off thousands of red flags in your mind. However, it got tons of bids. It brought almost $5,000. Now, I look at it, and two things strike me. One is the thickness of the black lines between the two cards is somewhat different. The Color of the blue is somewhat different. But it's that thickness of those black lines that has me a little concerned. If I was going to just be honest, could it be a facsimile? Could it be just someone who, tried to power erase some of these some of the black? Who knows if this is real or not, because this is why you buy this card graded. I also think that the color on the card isn't quite as washed out. So there's a lot of things here that would have made me not buy this card. Namely, the $5,000 price point. Namely, the card isn't graded, and there's some little bit of a red flag going on with the black on the borders here that make me think that maybe someone, could be a reprint that's been altered. Who knows? For sure, unless you send it in. But it definitely has a little issues going on for me that I would not have spent this much money on this card. I would have just bit the bullet and bought the graded card, even if I had to buy a low grade version if I really want this card, because you have more guarantee that that card is real. Now, there was other cards that sold in January of the same exact card. Here is number one. This card brought almost $5,000. It is obviously a fake. It is so bad of a fake that it makes me sad that this had so many bids. It was on auction, and somebody thought this was real. For one thing, it's not even missing the black. That's why the name tag isn't there, that there was a partial blockage of the plate. Something was laying across it. If you go on to the PSA registry, PSA forums, there's a whole thread dedicated to this where they reconstruct the entire sheet, showing you the damage or what was on the sheet that caused the black printing to not stick or the ink to not take hold. You can see a pattern for every card on that sheet and how this occurred, because there's other cards that got affected as well. This card has none of that. All the black is there, just not the name, which is not how this card works. Plus, the borders are really razor thin, meaning that this is most likely a reprint that someone's trying to pass off as a real card. So it's fake. The second card is a card that is even more of a fake. Now, what they've done here is basically they have tried to power erase some of the black, and then they took just either blue paint or yellow paint or whatever it is, and they've tried to color in the black so it has the same appearance as the regular no name on front. This does not look real to me at all. It does not appear to be a legit card that they've basically painted over or done something to hide, obscure the black, the name. It doesn't even look close. Color-wise as well, to me, it doesn't even look like something that is feasibly a real card. I think the fact that this brought over $3,000 is a travesty as well. So I just want to give a PSA here, guys. On this card, do not have any hopium. It's been reprinted by Topps. People are trying to pass off these cards as real by doing things like painting over them, erasing the black, whatever they're doing. It's not going to make the card real. And the chances that this card is fake is so much higher than it's real that, to me, it's just a poor thing for people to go after, because you're probably going to get screwed. You're probably going to get burned. Even on the card that sold, I think might be looking legit, there are some red flags. So again, don't buy ungraded versions of this card, please, or unless you can really prove the provenance of where that card came from, that it came from a pack from someone, what kind of pack it came out of, is all relevant questions. But again, you're taking your big time chances on this card if you buy it not graded. Number 4, EX credentials again, EX 2001. Future credentials from Derek Jeter brought $6,200 out of, $6,200 at auction. So this did sell on auction on January 15th. Card number 43 on 94. Again, like before, the essential credentials are hot. They're very PMG-like in terms of numbering. And again, that variable numbering does make it harder to put a full set together. Now, this is a BGS card. A PSA 9 of this card also sold in January. So this sold on the 15th of January. On the 5th of January, a PSA 9 So same grade, just PSA versus BGS, sold for over $5,000 higher than the BGS. That's a huge difference in value. Card number 87 out of 94, so it wasn't the same card. It wasn't anywhere close, so this is a totally different card. I mean, $5,000. Come on, guys. I would love to, if I had the money, to just have the BGS version of the card, because I don't think a different holder really makes it for $5,000. And again, I don't carry grades my cards on these kind of really rare cards like this. I just want to make sure it's authentic, not been altered. But wow, $11,500 for this card. That is pretty crazy. Number 2, we said, I hinted at it, the old established Griffey Mystique is back. It's a PSA 10. And wow, there's a $10,000 delta between the 9 and 10. It's a huge amount of money difference, guys, between just one grade. Again, I wouldn't probably want to pay this kind of premium. I would be happy with that 9, 100%. And again, very low pop count, sold on January 9th. And I think this could eventually become one of, or if not the most expensive, let's say, non-autographed, non-game used, just an insert card that came out of the 90s. It's already rising up there. We saw it twice on the list already. This is becoming sort of an it card, a measurement card, a card that if you have, you've completed a big portion of the rare Griffey cards, because this is one of the ones that everyone wants and is very hard to find. Now, number one, the dual auto Mickey Mantle, King Griffey Jr., almost $16,000 on a buy now on January 9th. So it's graded just authentic, and it's got no auto grade because these cards do fade the auto. And something that you have to be very careful with is people are doing some crazy things to this card. One thing is they are getting Griffey to sign a single Mantle card. So this card was graded with either Mantle or Griffey alone or them together. And so people are taking the Mantle card and getting Griffey to sign it at card shows. People are forging the Mantle auto on the Griffey cards and ruining the card in process. Now, again, it's very difficult if the card isn't, looked at to know if it's an aftermarket auto. PSA does not distinguish between pack pulled and aftermarket autos. And I'll give you an example right here. So look at the difference in those two autographs. You've got a later date King Griffey Jr. autograph on on the Mickey Mantle solo card. Basically, that's how they created it. They took the Mickey Mantle solo card, added a Griffey auto to it, and boom, bada bing, you've got this new really desirable dual auto card, but it looks nothing like the original autographs that came out in 1994. They're aftermarket. They shouldn't be authenticated like this. They're the same exact card. They should have a designation that aftermarket auto, so everyone knows that this is not a pack pulled autograph. This is something that was done after the card came out, because this card sold for almost $13,000, or I think it sold actually a little bit above that. So that's a tremendous premium people are putting on this card because they think it's pack pulled. It's not. This is a good example of a secondary market or secondary autograph being applied. So want to get that little PSA out there to be careful. This card can ruin your day if you pick and choose poorly, because I think the autograph strength and the fact that it's pack pulled, to me, make a big difference in how much I'm willing to pay. So that's it, guys. That's the top 10 inserts from the 90s and parallels from the 90s that sold in 2023 for baseball. And here is the entire top 20 list I put together. So if you want to look at the other cards that are on this list to see, what just didn't make the cut, you'll see some other credentials, some refractors from 93, the usual suspects for high-end insert cards. The players change, though. You see some new players like Canseco, Andrew Jones, David Ortiz, Mark McGuire, even a really rare 91 Desert Shield Randy Bush card. Again, that's why 90s inserts are so crazy, so much fun. It's not just about one or two players. You see a ton of players on this list. That makes it all more fun for everyone involved. So, all right, guys, that's the top 10 1990 90s baseball card inserts and parallel sales on eBay for January 2023. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you surprised? Are you shocked? Are you disgusted? Do you want to collect more 90s cards? Do you want to sell your cards because they're worth so much money? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you next time on Cards and Comics. Bye.